Hey guys, and welcome back to Sunny's Geeky Grove. This is episode 2 of the podcast and part 2 of our new and old video game series. Today we are going to be talking about Horizon Zero Dawn and Alan Wake. So let's just dive right into Horizon Zero Dawn. It is a game developed by Guerrilla Games, and it was released in 2017 as a PlayStation exclusive. So I'm sure a lot of you have heard about this before, maybe even played it, or maybe you're just, not sure if it's going to be your style of game. So basically what it is, it's an RPG style game. There are tons of skill points that you can dump into different skills, obviously, and it does have a pretty massive skill tree, as well as the Frozen Wilds DLC adds additional skills. But if you have that DLC from the get-go, then you have those skills from the get-go. So that's actually pretty cool, I think, that it doesn't force you to only take those during the DLC. You can have them once you reach them and unlock them from the base game as well. It does have limited speech options, and they're few and far between. There's 3 different, branches of speech replies that you can do. There's the strong one, the emotional one, and the level-headed one. I'm sure there's actual names for them in there, but they have little icons like a heart or a tree and a shield, I believe. And then, they pop up every once in a while when you're talking with an NPC. Usually when you are turning in a quest, they will appear when you are discussing the outcomes or when you're talking about a future quest that you're about to go on, different ways that you can accomplish it. So I think that's really great. It adds a little bit more to, that role-playing aspect. It's not a lot, but even just those few little player options make it really great, in my opinion. And then, it's just great to have your own play style put in, even if you don't always pick the emotional responses. You still have that capability of, okay, I'm always going to choose the emotional response, or you can do whatever sounds best to you. So who is our main character? Well, Aloy is the protagonist. She is an outcast, and she was raised by a fellow outcast named Rost. And we start with her as a young girl, maybe 8, pretty young. And when she's being trained by Rost, one day she finds a small little piece of tech, and she puts it in her ear, and it turns on and it comes alive, basically. It's not sentient, but it shows her different things in the world. And it's called a focus. We figure that out later, but that's what it's called. And she is, in this world where there's these big creatures, dinosaur-like creatures, and they're robotic. And that's basically what she's fighting against in the world, what she's trying to protect herself against. And as she, gets older, she's able to go out into the world stronger because of Rost, and she has this focus on her side as well. It's like a Bluetooth earpiece if you haven't seen it. And she uses a staff-like weapon to attack the robotic dinosaurs, and eventually through upgrades and stuff like that, she is able to hack certain types of dinosaurs, and then in that case, they can fight for you, or you can ride them like mounts, which is freaking awesome. One of my favorite things is hacking a dinosaur and riding it across the map and just randomly attacking other dinosaurs. And there's, she can forge for plants, and those plants can heal, or forge for wood from trees, and then those can make arrows and bolts for her weapons. And speaking of her weapons, there's tons of options. There's bow and arrow, like I said, and then there are different types of guns, or there are like slingshots to sling explosives, and you can have like freezing ones, electrical ones, fire, and there are also traps that you can make and set down, and if they don't go off, like if a dinosaur doesn't set them off, then you can pick them back up. And there's just so many different ways that you can play it, and if you have your weapon wheel completely filled with different types of weapons, you can customize your play however you want, and you can eventually use, every type of weapon. I found myself really using the crossbow the most, and then the slings the most, but I did also use the tear blaster a lot because it basically shot off armor and pieces of the mobs to make them easier to kill. So I would use those a lot. There's also like trip casters where you can set different types of either electrified or just like cold, I think, traps, and the mobs can walk into them and set them off and then get hurt and take damage. So those were fun too. It's just a lot of fun and a lot of variety for how you want to play. And speaking of variety and a plethora, there is so much lore. So much. When you have your focus, you can find audio logs, you can find diary entries, you can find old relics throughout the world, metal flowers which have information as well. There are tribal items for the different tribes of your current world, and there are vantage points. And I kind of got that we were not in the past, at the beginning, but when I found my first vantage point, it said something about the 20th or the 24th century, and my mind was blown. Obviously, it really shouldn't have been, but we later find out that the world that Aloy is currently in is the 31st century. And through the lore, we figure out how our current day civilization ended up where they are now. And I'm not, no spoilers. I'm not going to say how we got there, why, or anything like that. But learning about, the past and what mistakes did we make? How did we get here? Who's at fault? Is anybody at fault? How do we get past this? How do we stop these current robots, these dinosaurs? How do we stop them? How do we live with them? Things like that. And just, there's so much to read. There's so much to listen to. There's so much to just experience in this world. It is so full, but it's not to the point where it's overwhelming. It's so concise and it's so wonderful, and it really does just really solidify the background and why you're there and how you got there and just all of that. And it's so great. It's probably one of the best aspects of the game. And then, like I mentioned earlier, there is the Frozen Wilds DLC. It expands on the world. It adds a different type of biome that you can play in. It's really great, and it introduces, like I said, some new skills, but, if you had the DLC when you first started the base game, then those are already there. And then a few different, weapon mods or options. And you can still currently get the base game for about $20 at most places. So, I highly recommend it. It's fun. I think about, 17, 20 hours in just the base game. And that's me being an achievement hunter, looking for everything, finding everything, and doing all that. So, I'm trophy hunter on PS4. But, yeah. So then let's switch to a Microsoft exclusive. And this is Alan Wake. Alan Wake is an action-adventure video game developed by Remedy Entertainment in May of 2010. A couple months after that, it was released on Windows, but it did start primarily on the 360, and it's still just a Microsoft exclusive. Essentially, Alan Wake stars Alan Wake. He's a struggling writer with writer's block, so he and his wife Alice go to Bright Falls to help cure it, to open up his mind, to give him a new setting, new, mountain air, new people to interact with. And eventually, he wakes up to find that Alice has been kidnapped. And he is fighting against these shadowy forms that are trying to kill him. So he starts off by just having a flashlight, and then you shine it on the shadowy forms to burn the darkness away. And then they kind of stop coming at you so hardcore. And then you can run away. Later on, he has like a 6-shooter revolver. And you basically, when you shoot them with the shadow on them, they're invulnerable. They're, impenetrable. But when you use a flashlight to burn that darkness away, then you can shoot and kill them. And just like, some games, running away is best. Sometimes. Not all the time. But sometimes there's so many and you're running low on batteries. You maybe have 2 bullets left. Yeah, book it. Get out. It's best to run. Mr. Scratch is the antagonist, and I really love what they did with his name. It's so cool. And it really does add this like psychosis type level to it where you're not sure what's real, what's fake. And it's a mind trip. So there's a bunch of collectibles to find. There are like stand-up cutouts of Alan around the world because, he is a famous writer. So there are stand-ups of him, and there are pages of his writing that he had lost, and you'll find them every once in a while, and reading them helps you understand his mind more and what's going on. Where's Alice? Who's Mr. Scratch? What is this? We don't know. So let's read these pages. And it's great. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of really cool puzzles to solve to get through to objectives. They're not like portal puzzles or anything like that, but they are like, okay, I have to go over here. I have to burn this shadow off of this to turn this switch on and then move this crate so that I can get to the exit. Things like that. And then obviously you're navigating the shadowy figures to not die. And the batteries do die often. So when you're focusing on one of the shadowy figures, it drains your batteries very quickly. And you'll have to find more. It's so annoying. But they did semi-fix it in the DLC, where batteries are way more prevalent and they don't drain as quickly. And also, Duracell no longer sponsored the videos in the DLC, or the batteries in the DLC, so there's that. There's also an arcade game that came out a year or so later called American Nightmare, and it's an offshoot, so it's kind of a standalone, kind of part of it. Alan's there, Mr. Scratch is there, the world is there, but it's not really story driven. It is in a sense, but it's mainly not. It introduces new gameplay modes like survival levels, and then you have to survive a certain time or kill certain amounts in order to earn bronze, silver, and gold medals to win. Or do specific objectives to then get those medals. There's the achievement to get gold on all of the levels. I know for sure I have bronze on all of the levels, but not gold. I think I have gold on 1 or 2, but not all. They are difficult because with the higher difficulties later on, there's more shadowy figures, less batteries, and less ammo. So, but there is a little bit of a new story to explore within American Nightmare, and there are some new characters, and they had some avatar items, like avatar awards, like the Gods of Asgard shirt, and an American Nightmare hoodie, which was so cute. I still wear it sometimes on my Xbox avatar, which, yeah. But I do miss when games had avatar awards, and I'm hoping that since the Xbox One has released Xbox One avatars, that we're going to start having some games that actually incorporate them more, or having the opportunity for them to show up on like the dashboard, things like that. And I would like to see some games starting to incorporate avatar awards again, because they were such a gem. It was so nice to hear that little achievement popping sound and be like, oh, it's not an achievement, I got an avatar award. So lame and so much fun. And then you would instantly like save your game and go to the dashboard and edit my avatar and pop that avatar award on. So good. I miss that. I want that again. But you can still buy Alan Wake at most places, and you can get it for about $10 for the base game. I highly recommend it. If you can find the collector's edition comes with, so it does obviously include the base game, but then it also comes with an exclusive Xbox theme and avatar. You get the video documentaries on the behind the scenes, the theme of Alan Wake, the world of Bright Falls, the people of Bright Falls, and Alan's missions, and then an exclusive audio disc with the soundtrack and score. And it comes in the cutest little box. It looks like a book, and you can set it on like your bookshelf and it'll fit right in. It's just so adorable. And the avatar award, or the avatar item, is his coat and scarf, which is just, it's so cute. I looked far and wide for the collector's edition before I bought it. I don't even know why. Like, I had no idea what the game was. I just really wanted, a nice single player game that was horror themed. And then I fell in love, and I just really wanted the collector's edition from the get-go. But that is all I have for you today. Once again, this is episode 2 and part 2 of the new and old video game series. We talked about Horizon Zero Dawn, which is a PlayStation exclusive. You can still buy it today. Obviously, it's not that old. Came out in 2017. It's about $20 for the base game. And Alan Wake, which is a Microsoft exclusive, available on the 360 and Windows computers. You can still buy the 360 version for about $10 at most places.